on Mem Gimel Amid Beis. We're in the middle of trying to figure out a Rava. A Rava, yes, Teicha Shabbos, not Teicha Shabbos. So we had a Moirdik Yisoid that because a Rava is Be'etzem Daraisa, we're allowing it to be Teicha Shabbos. We're allowing it to be Teicha Shabbos Lefarsume Milsa, was what the Gemara said. A Moirdik idea that the Pirsum, the publication, that it's a deraisa, that's why we're pushing off Shabbos. What do you need? What do we create? Oh, the pencils are no. So just walk by the door over there. They have. Oh no, they're here. I'm leaving. There's a cup down there. Should be a cup. Got it. Givalik. So that's the first two mills. That's step one of the sugya. Step two of the sugya is now we're trying to figure out what does it mean at Rava, which is nachamal fascinating. Is you would think we know what a Rava is, and we learned the Mishnah. When we learned the Mishnah, we sort of pointed out the first Rashi said that they're surrounding the Mizbeach with a Ravais. And that's really, we're in the middle of, I think, that detail. I don't know, honestly, I don't know exactly where we ended off, but we're going to pick it up from there. So the Gemara said, we're trying to figure out, is the Arava putting it around the Mizbeach, or is the Arava taking it in your hand? So let's go. We'll start about 20 lines down. The first one line is Ikla. I know we did this already, but a little bit of a running start. We said Amri Ikla v'leidachi. So we're trying to figure out, can the seventh day of Pesach, excuse me, brain's not working. Can the seventh day of Sukkot fall on a Shabbos? So first the Gemara said it can't happen. But then Bar Hedya came and said, Ravin came and said it could happen. So the Gemara says, Veli Kasha. So Lamaisa, why isn't it Teicha Shabbos? Rav Yosef, Man Leimalon again. So the Kasha is Bizman Hazel, we're asking, why isn't it Teicha Shabbos? So Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Man Leimalon, who told you, Man Leimalon da Arava Binetila, who told you that what we're talking about is Binetila, taking the Arava in your hand? Dilma Bizkifa. You know what we're talking about? We're talking about standing the Aravais around the Mizbeach. And then, so what's the teretz? And we have no Mizbeach nowadays, so there's no musig of standing the Aravais around the Mizbeach. Asks the Gemara, Isvei Abaye. So Abaye asks from our Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? Lulav ve'arava shisha v'shiva, 6 or 7 days. So my love, so the Gemara assumes kilulav, that the type of arava that we're talking about is the same type like a lulav. We're in the middle of a shor chazar. You didn't miss anything. Says the Gemara, ma lulav binatila, af arava binatila. It's the same thing. Says the answers the Gemara, midi arya. The first one line is midi smakim amid hakidisa hakidisa. Says the Gemara, that why are you assuming that they're the same? They are different. One is talking about taking them. One is talking about, I have a whole table of it, doesn't be on top of you. One is talking, like when the kids serve, like they just dump it all on top of you, and there's like a whole empty table, like Shalom Aleichem. I love you dearly. But Midi Arya, Ha Kidi Isa, Ha Kidi Isa. Says the Gemara, each one is different. So we're standing in a place, and the Gemara is trying to suggest that the arava of discussion is around the Mizbeach, and if the arava is around the Mizbeach, there's no potential for it to be Deicha Shabbos Bizman Hazer of Tavar Shragi. So Eisvei Abaye, I think this is exactly what we're up to. Asks Abaye, the first one line is Eisvei, right in the middle of the Amid. B'chol yoim, every day. Ma'kiven es mizbeach b'amachas. They would surround, literally encircle or surround. We don't know what the word ma'kiven means. We're going to go with context in a moment. Surround the mizbeach one time. V'oisar hayoim. And that day, Hoshana Rabbah, Shevapam, says the Gemara. If you're encircling or surrounding a mizbeach 7 times, what does that mean? So Abaye assumes my lav ba'arava. It sounds like, what are you doing? You're walking around the Mizbeach holding the Arava. Because Abaye is saying, if it means 7 times, it can't just be, wouldn't make any sense to stand, make a row of aravos around the mizbeach 7 times. So suggests Abaye, it must be that you're taking the arava in your hand. The Gemara deflects further. Loi, belulav. It means you're taking the lulav in your hand. Says the Gemara of Amrav Nachman, Amrav Ravua, be'arava. No, you're taking the arava. Amar lei. So he responds, Hu Amar lach be'arava. You're right. You hold it be'arava. Vani amina belulav. And I hold with the lulav. So we have a machlekes amarayim. What is going on over here? What was happening on Hoshana Rabbah? Were they just surrounding the mizbeach with the aravais and walking around with the lulav? Were they even walking around with the arava? What's the practical nafkamina? Is do we have a kasha? The Gemara wants to know that bisman hazeh we should be taking the aravais on Shabbos. Itmar, we learned similarly. Rav Elazar Amar belulav, or Shobar Nasan Amar Rav China barava. Again, more opinions. Again, the same machlokes. Okay. So we're sitting at a little bit of a stalemate right now, trying to figure out what was done on Hoshana Rabbah. So Amar le Rava le Rav Yitzchak. Rava says to Rav Yitzchak, Brei de Rabba bar Chana bar Arya, which literally means son of Tyra. Bar, a son of Arya of Tyra, or like a Raisa. Ta, come, ve'emelacha milsa ma'al yisa.
But it can't be lulav.
Why?
Because we said lulav, you could only be deicha Shabbos on the first day.
Good. We haven't plugged it back yet. We're now just trying to figure out what did they do. We don't know if it's deicha Shabbos yet. You're right. If it's lulav, then you're right, it won't be deicha Shabbos on the 7th day. But we're not yet knowing what were they doing. That's step one, is Pasha, what do they do? Now, if it's lulav, correct, then it would not be deicha Shabbos on the 7th day. If it's arava, then we're stuck at a kasha. The Gemara would want it to be deicha. And that's really what's going to... Correct. And this is really what's going to blow up right now. So Rava Bar Yitzchak says, Brei Rav Bar Chana, Bar Arya, son of Tyra, Tavei Melacha, come, let me tell you, Mil Yisam Al Yisag, Geshmak Ezach, a beautiful thing. Tavei Amar Avuchle, your father said, Ha Ditinan, that which is said in the Mishnah, Kol Ayoim, every day, Makifin Es Mizbeach Pamachas, they would surround the Mizbeach, Makifin surround, Hakafais surround the Mizbeach one time, but Oisayim, and that time Makifin Es Mizbeach, they would surround the Mizbeach Sheva Pamim. Hachi Amar Avucha. This is what your father would say, Mishmei de Rav Elazar. Belulav. Okay, so another opinion. So where are we at? Period. We're stuck at a place. We have all Amarayim, all different names, faces, and shapes and forms, saying it means Belulav, it means Barava, it means Belulav, it means Barava. Nothing conclusive. So here it is. Esrei. Now we're going to finally have the clincher. Lulav deicha es Shabbos betchilasai. Says the Brisa, the lulav is deicha Shabbos in the beginning. Ve'arava b'soifai, explicit. The lulav is deicha in the beginning. The arava is deicha at the end. And now it goes weiter. The Brisa continues. Pa'amachas, one time. Chal shvi shel arava, the 7th day fell liyos. B'Shabbos. So we have a story. The Bryce is now going to tell us. We're finally going to figure out what's going on over here. So what happened when it fell on Shabbos? Ve'eviu, and they brought marbiois shel arava, branches of arava, marbiois, branches of arava. When do they bring it? May Erev Shabbos. Oh, this is sounding good. V'nicham, where do they place it? Be'azara, in the Azar. So we have a story that Hoshana Rabbah falls on Shabbos, and they bring the arava when? On Erev Yontif. Okay, what's now we're
gonna use it.
Vehekiru, but now the Bryce gives a little bit of a interesting story. Vehekiru ben Baisusin, the Baisusin, who are the bad people, they came and they recognized that, hey, all the Yidden brought their aravais to the Beis Hamikdash. We're gonna mess them up. So you know what they did? Vinatlam. They took the aravais. They kavshum, and they buried them. Tachas avonim, under stones. Why do they bury it under a stone? Because what's going to happen the next morning? They're going to come to the Beis Hamikdash, and where are all the Aravas going to be? Under racks. So what? Racks are muksa. So the Baisusim, they're not just gonna, like a good guy. They're not just gonna stop, like steal that Ravais. They're gonna go and find a halachic way. There you go. You're gonna find a halachic way to mess us up. So Lamachar. So what happened? So the Baisusim forgot that, there are always some Yidden who are a little bit on the fringe. Hikiru behen amei haaretz. The Amaratzim showed up, and they're like, oh shoot, what's going on over here? So what did the Amaratzim do? Vishamtam, they grabbed it. Mitachas avonim, from under the stones.
No problem, anyways.
Why?
You don't have to worry about muksa when it's daicha. Muksa is there.
Oh, so that's a good cash. That's a good cash. The Gemara right now is assuming there is an issue of muksa. It's a good kasha. The Gemara right now is assuming muksa is a problem. So the Amaratzim came and they grabbed them from under the stones. Veviyam, hakoyhanim, and the Kayhanim took them. And what did they do with the Aravais? Here it is, the clincher. Vizokfu mitzidei hamizbeach. They stood them next to the Mizbeach. Lefi, because she'ein habaisusim moidim. The Baisusim did not admit shechibot arava. What does chibot mean? Literally means banging. The banging of the arava was doicha es haShabbos. Period. End of brisa. There's a lot of details over here. We have to explain it deeper, but let's just first get taich. So again, they brought the aravais on Friday. The bad guys hid them under the rocks. The ignoramuses, the Amaratzim, took them. The Kayhanim stood them next to the Mizbeach. Why? Because the Baisusim don't admit that you're allowed to bang the Arava. Chibut, the banging, the taking of the Arava. So says the Gemara, Alma. Oh, we have to see everything. But let's just get the math. The text, excuse me. Alma, says the Gemara, what do you see? Binetilahi. You see, it's all about Netila. Because what did the Brisa say explicitly? Chibut arava, the taking of the arava. So from the fact that the Brisa explained that it's all about the chibut, the taking, that shows us what? It's all about the taking. It's about the netila. Alma binetili. Says the Gemara, so you see.
It's about the netila. What was that?
Says the Gemara, tiyufta. So now we see bottom line. What do they do on Hoshana Rabbah? They take the Aravos. Tiyufta. The Gemara says all the opinions that said that they didn't take them, they just stood them around the Mizbech is clearly wrong. And rather, we clearly see they took the Aravos. Now,
first they said Avian Khan.
Yeah, good. The Brisa, we do not understand what just happened.
First they said they
Good.
stand it, then they said
Says they stand it, then they took it, and we have a proof that they took it. So let's work backwards. We have a raya that what is a rava? You take it, says the Gemara. To Yufta. Before we go weiter, I just want to read one more line. Says the Gemara, so now what's the clincher? After the whole, we just read a lot of lines. All of this was proving that what did they do in Hoshana Rabbah? Took the Arava. So what's the kasha? So now it circles mamish, one big circle. Ve'ela nidchu. So it should be doiche. Shabbos bizman hazeh. Ve'ela nidchu. It should be doiche. Says the Gemara. Actually, let's stop at the kasha because we really have a lot of loose ends we have to tie up. We have to see a Rashi. Okay? So we're back to our kasha, which really, if we were to put the last 18 lines in order, it was one yisoid the Gemara is asking. The yisoid is, what do you do with arava? If you take it, it's a kasha, and that's what we're ending with, that it is a kasha. So let's look at Rashi. I want to read together two Rashis. Rashi, Am Haaretz. Rashi at the end of the medium-sized lines. Says Rashi, the Amaratzim Shloya Bikim Be'Isser. They don't know the halachas about the prohibition of tiltal. They might say Yadam im haprushim. Okay, don't worry about that part. Veviyam hakohanim v'zakvam. So the kohanim took it and they stood it up. Aval Yisrael lo haya nichnas bina ulam v'lamizbeach. The Yidden Yisraelim are not allowed to go all the way into the base of Mikdash, obviously. So the kohanim took it and stood it around. But now Rashi goes and articulates what's the raya umidiketani from the fact that it said chibut arava, taking of the arava michlal, that infers the biyad noitlim. They would take it with their hands. Biyad noitlin they would take it with their hands umina'aneim and shake it, and then Umakifin ba kayanim esamigbeach. They would surround the kayanim biragleihem with their feet. Ve'achar kach, and then zoikfin isa. They would stand it up. So the Brisa just told us the end of the story, that after the Amaratzim grabbed them out from under the rocks, the kayanim took them and stood them around the Mizbeach. But what else obviously is going on over here? It said chibot, it said that they took it. So we see that clearly the nikudah, clearly the detail is taking the arava. So that is a conclusive raya that what do they do with the arava on the seventh day in the Beis HaMikdash? They took it. If they took it on the seventh day, 1 second, so therefore we're back to our kasha. What's our kasha? It should be doiche Shabbos. Yes.
The Rav could just remind me, beginning of the sugya, we had this question of how do we know if it's taking or if it's what's the difference?
No, because we're talking bisman hazeh, the kol kasha of the Gemara, and this is obligates all of us to really. Maybe even by tomorrow, to really just read through the Gemara. It's easy reading from the 2 dots, 4 lines on the top. The whole kasha was bisman hazeh shmidei Shabbos. Says the Gemara, bisman hazeh shmidei Shabbos. Wait, what shmidei Shabbos? Arava. When? Day 7. Wait, what do you do with Arava on day 7?
Right, that
so if no. Because if you stand it around the Mizbech, we don't have a Mizbech, so what are you being daicha? The only option to be daicha is if you take it. So now that the Gemara went full circle, and the Gemara proves that what did they do? They took the Arava. So now the Gemara has a kasha. And what's going to be gavaldik is this kasha is now going to circle all the way back around to the previous sugya. Tomorrow night, it's actually beautiful. We're going to wrap up the sugya.
They didn't understand that the Hanan would go ahead and stand it.
A good to that's afterwards. No, but that's very good. That's what we read at Rashi. That's what we read at Rashi. That afterwards, it was a 2-part mitzvah. Number 1, they took a biyad, and then number 2, they stood around. And where do we see that? From the fact that the Brisa said the word chibut arava shows us that the taking of the arava is integral. Tomorrow we'll finally have a teretz to this kasha.